Okay, we are today on Daf Hey Amid Aleph. We are going to begin on Daf Dalet Amid Beis, 6 lines up from the bottom of the page. So we had begun a machlokes, Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. Machlokes Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. Where do we learn the prisha of the Kohen Gadol? Do we learn it from the Milu'im, or do we learn it from Har Sinai? That was Machlokes Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. And Reish Lakish had a kasha that he asked Rabbi Yochanan. He said, Rabbi Yochanan, if you're learning for the Milu'im, then should be Ma'akiv. Meaning, if you didn't do it, it shouldn't. Then the Kohen Gadol should not be able to do the avodah on Yom Kippur. And he proved it from the fact that the Sagan that's appointed for the Kohen Gadol does not need Prisha. We just say in the Mishnah Matkinin. We don't say Mafrishin. So that's a raya that he doesn't need Prisha. And if he doesn't need Prisha, so that means it's not Ma'akiv. It won't hold you back from doing the avodah. And Rabbi Yochanan didn't answer him. He just said, okay, what do you have to say? So says the Gemara, this is where the Gemara is taking off from there. Michlal. We see from this that Travayu Sirlu, both of them agree that Milu'im kol hakasuben ma'akiv. Whatever it says by the Milu'im is ma'akiv by them. The Itmar, because this was actually machlokes. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina. We weren't sure who said what. But we had a memra from Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina. Chad Amar Kol HaKosben Ma'akiv. One of them said that anything that is written by the Milu'im is Ma'akiv, and if they didn't do it, then you couldn't serve. Chad Amar, and one of them says, Davar HaMa'akiv L'doiros, that which will be a problem in the future generations, Ma'akiv Behen will be a problem now as well. She'ein Ma'akiv L'doiros, but something which in the future is not Ma'akiv, Ein Ma'akiv Behem will not be Ma'akiv by them either. You got that? So the Gemara now says, I can tell you who says what. Meaning the memory was said over Chad v'Chad. We didn't know who held what. But now we know that it's Rabbi Yochanan who holds that the everything by the Milu'im was Ma'akiv. Tistayim, I can prove to you, the Rabbi Yochanan Huda Amar. He's the one who says, Kol HaKosben Ma'akiv Ben. Everything that is said by them is Ma'akiv. How do you know that? Because Mitaka Amar le Rabbi Shlokish le Rabbi Yochanan. And the fact that Rabbi Shlokish said to Rabbi Yochanan, and this was his question, Imam Milu'im, if you're going to learn Prisha of the Kohen Gadol from the Milu'im, then Kol HaKosben Ma'akiv Ben. Then everything should be Ma'akiv. And Rabbi Yochanan didn't answer anything back to him. It's time. So that's a raya that Rabbi Yochanan is of the opinion as well that the Rabbi Yochanan is of the opinion that it is ma'akiv, and therefore in this memra it's Rabbi Yochanan who is of the opinion that kol hakosben ma'akiv, that everything that's written by the Milu'im is going to be ma'akiv. Okay, so for the Gemara, my beinayu, what are we? I don't know what you're talking about. Which things are ma'akiv l'deres and which things are not ma'akiv l'deres? Meaning, you're telling me that there are things that were written by that halacha by the Milu'im was that you're supposed to do these, and some of the things are ma'akiv l'deres. That means in the future you were told to do it, and some of the things l'deres they won't be ma'akiv. So then it's machlokes, is it going to be ma'akiv by the Milu'im or not? So give me some examples. So says the Gemara, we're going to have 4 examples of things that are not ma'akiv l'deres that were said to be done at the Milu'im, and therefore it's machlokes, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina, if they're going to be ma'akiv at the Milu'im. So says the Gemara, here's the first one. Rabbi Yosef, Semicha ikabenai. Semicha means that the bailam, the owner of the carbon, puts his hands on the animal and leans, is being supported by the animal. That's halacha of smicha. So what's the inyan with the smicha? Lamanda amar kol hakosben ma'akiv behen. So according to one that says that everything that was written by the Milu'im is ma'akiv, so smicha ma'akva. So then if the Kayin didn't do smicha by the Milu'im, or the Moshe didn't do it by the Milu'im, so then it will be, or if Aaron did on the 8th day, if he didn't do smicha ma'akva, the cover will be no good. But if you hold that something which is not ma'akiv l'doros is not ma'akiv by the Milu'im either, then smicha le'ma'akva. Why? So because smicha is not ma'akiv l'doros. So the Gemara wants to know l'doros menalan. How do you know that smicha is not ma'akev l'deres? Maybe you should have to do. There's a mitzvah to do smicha on every carbon, and if you don't do it, the Gemara is telling us that it's not ma'akev. Your carbon will still be machaper. But how do you know that? Says the Gemara, the Tani London Brisa. So the pasuk says by the carbon oila. Now you bring a carbon oila for bittul mitzvahs essay. If the person didn't say Kriya Shema Bismanei, so you have to bring a carbon oila. Or if he did a law that's intikla essay, like say he stole, so then he could bring a carbon oila. So the pasuk there says v'samach. I'm reading the whole pasuk. It says v'samach yadei al reish ha'oila. So the bailam would lean on the head of the animal. V'nirtza loi, and it will be desired for him. Hashem will be like nirtza. Hashem will want it l'chaper love to give him kapara. That's the pasuk. So it says v'samach. He leans v'nirtza, and he gets kapara. Says the Gemara, Semicha mechaperes. You telling me that smicha is what brings the kapara of the carbon? Smicha doesn't make a carbon mechaper. Well, it ain't kapara el b'dam. Do you know when you get kapara when you bring a carbon? When you do the zrikas hadam, when you sprinkle the dam in the zrech, that's when you get kapara. Not by leaning on the animal. Shenem, like the pasuk says, ki adam hu b'nefesh yechaper. It's a dam that's in the soul that brings kapara. So then what does the pasuk mean? That when you do smicha, you'll be nirtza, you'll be desired by HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'chaper. She'im asa l'smicha sheyarei mitzvah. If you're going to make smicha to be like a leftover mitzvah, meaning not an ikar mitzvah, meaning you won't do it. So ma'ale alav akasav ki ilu loy kiper v'kiper. So it's the Torah considers as if you got no kapara, but you still got a kapara. What does that mean? Loy kiper v'kiper. So Rashi says, second line down in the top of the Rashi's, ki ilu loy kiper min hamuvchar. It's not the choicest kapara. You'll get kapara v'kiper. Rashi says, you get kapara. The ikar kapara b'dam. You didn't do it the way it was meant to be done. Keeper will like keeper. Like keeper the keeper. So that's how Rashi learns. It's got a kapara, but it's not min hamuvchar, meaning it's like it affects your kapara. You get kapara for your betel mitzvah saseh, but it's not the best kapara. That's how Rashi says it. Somebody else learns, brought down in the Dirshu, that you get kapara, regular kapara, that doesn't affect, not the smicha doesn't affect your kapara, but you don't get, the carbon itself will not be mechaper for the fact that you didn't do the mitzvah of smicha. Meaning, you didn't do smicha, but I'm bringing a carbon, so the carbon should be mechaper on the fact that I didn't do the carbon right. No. That you're not going to get. So like keeper. Okay, that is the first nafkamina between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina, whether or not kol davar that is ma'akiv l'deiros. If you bring, we're talking about a carbon by the Milu'im. There are a lot of halachas written by the Milu'im, and we wanted to know: is everything ma'akiv? If you leave anything out, is that okay? So it's machlokes. Rabbi Yochanan says, yeah, if you leave anything out, Rabbi Yochanan say, if you leave anything out, it's ma'akiv. Rabbi Chanina is of the opinion that anything that's not ma'akiv in the future is not going to be ma'akiv by the Milu'im either. So we asked, what's the nafkamina? The first nafkamina was the halach of smicha. Gemara brings the second nafkamina. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar. Tenufa.
And I know I'm coming in the middle, but this is carbon specific. Meaning there's some carbonates where smicha is not ma'akiv.
The halacha smicha is not ma'akiv for any carbon.
Never ma'akiv.
That's what we just learned from there.
I thought it was, okay.
Smicha is not ma'akiv, but the question is by the Milu'im was it ma'akiv. So that's the machlokes of Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina.
Okay.
Another nekuda, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar, Tenufa ikabenayu. The nafkamina is tenufa. What's tenufa? Tenufa is waving. So there are parts of the carbon, they're parts of the carbon, the chaz of a sheikh, and other carbonas that got a tenufa, they got waved. So what happens if you didn't do the tenufa? Not like a wave, but more like a shuckle.
Also, I thought also the Kohen has to put his hands underneath.
Underneath, and he goes in between, and that's by what? By the Bikurim. You got some Tenufa action. Okay, so Tenufa mechaperes. I'm sorry. So the Gemara says Ika b'nei Tenufa. Lamanda Amar Kol Kosaben Ma'akev. According to one that says that anything that's written by the Milu'im is Ma'akev, so then Ma'akva. So the Tenufa will also be Ma'akev. Ulamanda Amar Davar she'ein Ma'akev loderis ein Ma'akev behem loy Ma'akva. Tenufa will not hold you back from the mitzvah. Where do we know that this is not Ma'akev loderis? How do you know Tenufa is not Ma'akev loderis? The Tanya and then a Brisa. Litenufa lechaper. The pasuk says in context. V'imdalu, if a guy is poor, any of the masagas, and he can't afford v'lokach keves echad asham litenufa lechaper. He brings a keves, a sheep, as an asham, and to litenufa to be waved lechaper alav to act as an atonement for him. He says echad kol bol b'shemen lemincha v'leik shemen. Someone's like, what? Tenufa is mechaper? What is the pasuk saying? Tenufa is not mechaper. That's not how you get kapara by bringing a carbon. What brings kapara? Ein kapara Allah bala, ein kapara al badam. You need to get blood on the mizbeach to get kapara. Shinem, like the pasuk says, ki adam hu b'nefesh yichaper. It's the dam that brings kapara. So umatam leimer letenufa lechaper. So why does the pasuk say letenufa lechaper? Shemasal letenufa shiyari mitzvah. Because if you're going to make the tenufa, the waving, shiyari mitzvah, like a secondary mitzvah, means you're not going to do it. The Torah considers it as if you did not get a kapara complete. You didn't get a kapara min hamuvchar, but v'chiper you do have a kapara. You're not going to bring another carbon. Now here it's interesting because by both of them, the question will be, what happens if you catch it before you actually sprinkle the dam? You realize, oh my gosh, we didn't do the tenufa. You already did the shechita, you did the kabbalah, but you didn't do the zrika yet. So should you stop and do it again and bring a new carbon so you can get a kapara min hamuchar? If the loy keeper is chisaron in the kapara you're getting, then yeah, you shouldn't. You probably should do that. But if it's just a loy keeper on the a different issue, like we mentioned before, that you didn't do this avoda, so then l'chara you shouldn't. Somebody, that's a kishmak enough, okay, givaldik. That's the second opinion. So we have so far Semicha and Tenufa. Rav Papa Amar. I tell you another one. Prishas Shiva Ikebenayu. Prishas Shiva Ikebenayu. Lamanda Amar Kol Kazaben Ma'akibehen. So Ma'akiv, according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says that everything that's written by the Milu'im is Ma'akiv. So if Aaron HaKohen wouldn't have done Prisha for 7 days, he would not be able to do the Avodah on day 8. But according to what it says, that something which is not Ma'akiv l'deiros won't be Ma'akiv for them at the Milu'im either, then Lei Ma'akiv. Correct the Gemara, how do you know Prisha is not Ma'akiv? You're taking that as a davar pashut. That Prisha is not ma'akiv. Yeah, so it brings Reish Lakish's raya. Mitikatani matkinin v'loikatani mafrishin. From the fact that the Mishnah uses a lashon of matkinin by the sakan, we prepare for the kind of second guy tachtav. V'loikatani mafrishin. It doesn't say like it says by the kind of mafrishin we separate him. So it sounds like that you don't have to separate him. Why wouldn't you have to separate the second the skan kohen? Must be it's not ma'akiv. That's number 3. Fourth, nafkamina. Vervina amar. Riboy shiva u'meshicha shiva. Ikebenai. What do these words mean? Riboy shiva. A lot of 7. Now, it means riboy, when we talk about the kohen gadol wearing the shmeina begadim, we talk him as meruba begadim, wearing a lot of begadim. So Riboy Shiva, when the Kohen Gadol would be newly appointed to be the Kohen Gadol, the halacha is that he had to do the avodah for 7 days in his Shmeina Begadim, and the Gemara says Meshicha Shiva, and he had to be anointed for 7 days with the Shem and HaMishcha. That's Riboy Shiva Meshicha Shiva. Now, that's the nafkamina. Because this was a pasuk that was written by the Milu'im that the Kohen Gadol, that Aaron Kohen had to wear for 7 days the Shemayim Begadim. So if you hold it to Ma'akev, it's Ma'akev. So Mara wants to know, well, how do you know that this halacha that the Kohen Gadol needs to be inaugurated in the Shemayim Begadim, that that's not Ma'akev L'deres, that if he didn't do it, he can still serve? Well, there's been all Ma'akev. For few generations, where do we know that this is not Ma'akev? Titania, we learned in a brayso. The Chiper HaKoyin Asher Yimshach Oisai V'Asher Yamali Es Yadai L'Chahin Tachtov V'Tachas Av. So this is a pasuk in Achrimais describing after it says the Chiper HaKoyin Asher Yimshach Oisai, the Koyin who will be anointed V'Asher Yamali Es Yadai, his hands will be full. That means he's wearing all Shemayim Begadim L'Chahin Tachas Av, to serve in place of his father. V'Lavash is Big Day Habad, Big Day Kodesh. So he's going to wear the Big Day Habad to do the Avodah as well. So the Gemara wants to know, why do you got to tell me both things? That he's anointed, what's the pasuk saying? Because we have a different meaning. What's the kasha matam alaymer? Rashi says, if it's coming to teach you that the avodah on Yom Kippur needs to be done with the Kohen Gadol, like Kol Parsha Aaron never. We know that the whole parsha was talking about Aaron HaKohen. Aaron, V'Nasan Aaron, V'Hikra Aaron, Uba Aaron. Rashi brings 4 rayas that we're talking about Aaron HaKohen. So we know this needs to be done with the Kohen Gadol. So what's this pasuk telling me again that the Kohen Gadol is going to do that service? We know this. So expensive. We have a parsha in Parshas Tetzava. Interestingly, I found that I have this today. The parsha of the Milu'im is the tzivui for the Milu'im is given in Parshas Tetzava, and the actualization of the Milu'im is in Parshas Tzav. Tzav both Tetzava and Tzav. All right, that just was a memory, a mnemonic. So in the parsha of At Tetzava, the pasuk says, Shivas Yamim Yil B'Shem HaKoyin Tachtov Mibanov. Okay, that whoever is going to come into serve in the base of the Mikdash is going to, for 7 days, wear the Shemayim Begadim. Shivas Yamim Yil B'Shem HaKoyin Tachtov Mibanov Asher Yaveh El Ayel Meid L'Sharis B'Kodesh. So for 7 days, he's going to wear these clothing as well. So Ainli Ella, Nisrava Shiva, V'Nimshach Shiva. So you see here, you put these psukim together. Because I got the pasuk by the Chibra Kanashim Shachai Avasha Yamali. So the pasuk by in Parshas Achrimais tells you both. I want to know, well, why do you have to tell me both? So it says, well, I have a pasuk that tells me in Parshas V'Atat Tetzava that for 7 days the Kohen who's going to come and serve as the next Kohen Gadol has got to wear the Shemayim Begadim. So Ainli Ela Nisrava Shiva V'Nimshach Shiva. So I see that he's got to do that for 7 days. But what about if you were Nisrava Shiva? If you wore the Shemayim Begadim for 7 days, V'Nimshach Yemechad, but you were only anointed once, or Nisrava Yemechad, or you wore the Shemayim Begadim for 1 day, V'Nimshach Shiva Minayin. How do you know that that's also good? The pasuk says, the pasuk v'achremes. It says both. Asher yimshach oisai, v'asher yimali es yadai mikol malkev. As long as you got both of them, eventually that works. Okay, so that's how I know that it's not ma'akev l'deres. The Brisa says explicitly, even though you didn't do them both for 7 days, it is going to be okay. So the Kohen Gadol, again, but this is a halacha l'chatchila. The Kohen Gadol is supposed to wear Shemayim Begadim and be nimshach for 7 days before he does his avodah. Says the Gemara, Ashkachan riboy sheva l'chatchila. I see it's in a first pasuk that says that we need a riboy begadim for 7 days l'chatchila. Mashiach sheva l'chatchila menalan. Where do we know that you need Mashiach for 7 days? It doesn't say it in the pasuk. Says the Gemara, Ibay said we got two terutzim. The first teretz says, well, look, I needed the pasuk in Achrimais to write Asher Yimshach Oisai. to tell me that, which taught me that b'diavad you don't need to do it for 7 days. So that must mean la'achatchila you do have to do it for 7 days. Ibay said, I made the itzrach krol for the fact that the Torah needed to be memayit and tell you that b'diavad you're yaitza even if you didn't do it for 7 days. So I see from there that lechatchila you're supposed to do it for 7 days. First text. Ibay Sema, second text. Amar Krah, we have a pasuk. Says a big day hakodesh asher la'aron yihu lebanav acharos la'acharav lemoshcha bahem. Now this is a pasuk by the in Parshas Tetzaveh that the big day hakodesh that Aaron had will go to his children after him lemoshcha bahem, to be anointed in them. And to be with the Shemayim Begadim. So the pasuk here has hekesh between the Shemayim Begadim and Mashiach. Sorry. Okay. So the Gemara says, I have a hekesh. The Torah connects Mashiach to Riboy Begadim. Ma Riboy Shiva, and therefore I learn that just like the Shemayim Begadim you need to be wearing them for 7 days in your inauguration, Av Mashiach Shiva, so Mashiach also needs to be done for 7 days. Practically, my time in the Manda Amar Kolakosu Behen Ma'akiv. Why does Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish hold that everything that's written by the Milu'im is actually Ma'akiv? Meaning, if they're not Ma'akiv L'Dairis, so why would you say that by the Milu'im they're Ma'akiv? So Gemara gives 3 theories. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Bisna, Amar Krah. I got a pasuk. The pasuk says, "Va'asisa la'aron u'labanov kacha, kacha, azoi, kacha ikuvuhu." The lashon of kacha, like this, is coming to be ma'akiv. To tell you that it's got to be done exactly like this. Let's just do the next little Gemara here. Teinach milsa deksiva b'hai inyana. That's very good for whatever is written in Parshas Va'ata Tetzaveh. That's where it says kacha. But milsa like ksiva b'hai inyana. But something that's not written there, but it's written in the parsha of the Milu'im itself in Parshas Tzav. So minolan. Then how do you know that would also be ma'akiv? Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak Yolef Pesach. He makes a gzeira shava Pesach el Mayit and Pesach el Mayit. And the gzeira shava, he'll tell you that whatever since by the in Parshas Tetzaveh it's ma'akiv. So anything that's written in Parshas Tzav, Rashi says it's referring to specifically to the tzivoy to put the urim v'tumim into the choshen.
I don't understand the question. Meaning, if based on what you were saying before, if Tzav was the command and Tzav was the actioning out of that command, so then when we have the pasuk of Kacha in Tzav and the carrying out of that in Tzav, then wouldn't it just be?
It's a great kasha. Like, who cares? Lamaisa, that's what they did. So who cares if it was ma'akiv or not?
Well, not bad, but it's more like Tzav, I'm telling you this is what has to happen. Now you're carrying that out on Tzav. I told you in Tzav that's got to be Kacha. So when you carry it out on Tzav, it's got to be Kacha. Meaning you're carrying out what I'm
right. The problem is that there's something that's written in Tzav that's not written in Tetzaveh. And that means it wasn't a tzivui in Tetzaveh. It says, Vayitein el ha'choshen es ha'urim v'esatum. Now I don't know if that was it. I don't know how it's written. It's saying that that's what you should do or that's what was done.
But I would say different. I mean, so, if you have in Tetzaveh the command, I mean, the whole process, right. Kacha, so do this. And when you get to Tetzaveh, you don't have to say Kacha again.
No, that's
You've already been told Kacha.
Everything in Tetzaveh is ma'akiv. Kacha tells that everything that's in Tetzaveh is ma'akiv. You have to do that. And if you left something out, then you mess it up.
Right.
The question is, what about something that was told you were told to do in Tzav, not in Tetzaveh?
That's the first pass.
Correct. Okay. Is that also going to be ma'akiv? And now we're saying we have a gzeira shava that's going to tell you that it's ma'akiv. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, Rav Mishar Shemar Ushmartem es Mishmeres Hashem. You got to keep what I'm telling you to do. This is written in the parasha, and this is written in Tzav, and therefore it's saying you got to do it. I don't need a gzeira shava. It actually says this. You have to do it the way I'm telling you to do it. And Rav Ashi also brings a pasuk Kikain Tzuvesi. Because this is what I commanded you is also a lashon of that's going to be ma'akiv, and that's all, and that's why It was also written in by the Milu'im, by Shasav, and that's why it's Ma'akiv. So let's just do a quick chazar here. We have four. It says that machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina. What, whether or not things that are written by the Milu'im, are they Ma'akiv? And we have four nafkaminas: Semicha, Tenufa, Prisha, and Ribo Shiva and Mashiach Shiva. And the Gemara wants to know, why does it need to be Ma'akiv according to Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish? And the Gemara gives three psukim, either because it says Kacha in the Tzava, or from Ushmartem Mishmaris Hashem, or from Kichein Tzubeis. Mitzvah Hashem, we will continue tomorrow night with Daf Hey on the Bays. Have a good night.
Now, what was the nafkamina we talked about by Tenufa?